you competed against Bobby Flay.
I did.
And you beat him.
I did. I always tell everybody I went straight for the jugular.
What are the sorts of things that you want to see when someone's coming in for a stage?
Yeah. To set yourself up for success is cross-training. I'll even look at their knife and be like, what kind of knife is this person using?
So are you one of those kids that were like, I want to grow up and be a chef?
If you really want to get into this industry, you need to stay focused. You know, with the growing restaurant industry in Salt Lake, I was like, well, I want to kind of be the forefront of like bringing chefs together.
How do you determine that a meal that you made is good and is going to stick?
They started talking about the price of school, and I was like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah,
this is culinary school.
Chef Nick, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
I think this is great.
Thank you guys.
So cool to have you. I want to touch a little bit on like the purpose of this. So we are here to talk about you, your experience, how you became a chef. For our listeners, I think that there's a couple things I want to set the stage for. Chef Nick Zocco.
Zocco, yeah.
Zocco.
Yep. I always tell everybody, say Zocco, but then think Zocco's Tacos.
Zocco's Tacos.
That may one day have to happen.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, just throwing it out there.
All right. Maybe that's a little foreshadowing. So for our listeners, so Chef Nick, you competed against Bobby Flay.
I did.
And you beat him.
I did.
That doesn't happen very often.
Oh, man. At least not in food competition. Maybe in a fist fight, but...
So
yeah, that was cool.
So I think we can get into that a little bit, just to kind of tell people who you are. And then you were a semi-finalist for the James Beard Award.
This year I was a semi-finalist. Yep,
that's amazing.
Last year I was
what is
finalist.
that? What is that award for? Is it for those who don't know, the listeners? Is it?
Yeah, so the James Beard Foundation was created, but now it's become basically. James Beard was a famous chef, and now there's a foundation for him. And, you know, to be recognized by the James Beard Foundation basically recognizes that, you know, you're doing great things in your community, you're you know, highlighting the best food in your city or whatever it is, and, you know, you're just basically recognized as like a public figure, but in a very positive way, you know, that you're making an impact on not only your community, but your customer base and just the growth of cities, you know, and really just making the appeal, you know, where's that coming from? And yeah, it's a pretty prestigious award. You know, I haven't worn it obviously,
Sure.
but yeah, it's definitely up there with the Grammys of food, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
Because I was looking at this a little bit, and it was like, it's like, where does the Michelin star rank, and then where does James Beard, and those things are very talked in the same paragraph kind of sentiment. And so I think that's really cool that you've obviously you haven't won it yet. Hopefully you will one day.
Yeah,
but being a semifinalist, I think alone is awesome. But
I mean, I was a finalist first in 2014 or 2024. I was a finalist for that, and so I basically went out to Chicago to the award show, and then at that point you're competing against 4 other chefs.
Yeah.
So it's 5 in each category that go to the finals. And so, yeah, the very first year I got nominated, I was a finalist, and I went out to Chicago.
Awesome.
that's amazing.
That was it was very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I bet.
It was like,
oh man,
you're in this, you know, you're in the opera, and you're with like all these celebrity chefs and, you know, big shots in the industry, and you're like,
How did I get
wow, this is real. You know, it was like a dream, honestly.
Awesome.
that's so cool.
I was a mess, man. You know, when the category came up, it's like my wife was holding my hand. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, my hands are freezing. I'm nervous. You know, if I get called up, you know."
Yeah.
And then semifinals this year. So
You've been a sous chef for Bobby Flay. You worked in Vegas for a little bit. You're now here in Utah, Urban Hill. So you're an executive chef at Urban Hill, the fine dining restaurant here in Utah. So let's talk about how you got here. I know that's just, I wanted to throw out some credibility remarks or tags really quick, but how did you, when you were little, I think we talk about often, like people talk about wanting to be a police officer or a teacher or a doctor or something. But like, I feel like a chef is probably one of those things. It's like, yeah,
it's on the fringes of people's, like when you're kids, right? It's on the fringes of your knowledge, right? You know, you'll see it in like shows and cartoons, but
yeah,
it's one of those jobs that don't always think about.
Yeah.
So were you one of those kids that were like, I want to grow up and be a chef?
I kind of was actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
You know, it started. It's funny you mentioned police officer. Very first thing, like that was like, I want to be a cop. You know, I mean, that was just my thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, being a chef. So I started, looking into food, I guess, when I was close to 5 years old, probably. And I would watch PBS, and on PBS there was 2 specific shows that I watched, and one was a Chinese chef. His name was Martin Yan, and he had a show on PBS called Yan Can Cook, and he was hilarious. I mean, like as a child, I was laughing, but he only used the Chinese cleaver for everything. He would break down a whole chicken.
Yeah.
I mean, the chef could break down a chicken in like 10 seconds.
Wow.
And I'm not even kidding. You can look it up on YouTube. But that was like what he was known for. And he would break down the chicken with this Chinese cleaver. He would chop all his vegetables. He would slap the garlic super flat and then chop it up super, fast. And I was just very intrigued by that, and as a child, I think that was weird, you're like, why am I watching this guy cook, and you should be watching cartoons?
How did I get here?
Yeah. But I did watch all the cartoons. You know?
Sure.
Yeah, of course, in addition to.
Exactly. So after his show, there was another chef show called Great Chefs, and it was like a very one-on-one, the chef in his kitchen, camera focused on him, making a dish, and they would have 3 chefs per episode. One chef would do like an appetizer, the other one would do an entree, and then you'd have a dessert. And all these chefs were from different areas of Europe or something, and eventually they'd show like American in different parts of the world. But I don't know, there was something that just really drew me into that, as a young kid. And I would go home after school, and I'd watch those shows, and I'd watch all the regular shows, and and then just kind of like went away. I didn't have much interest in it until like my late teen years, when I was like, all right, I'm graduating high school soon. I got to figure something out. And the whole like law enforcement thing was on my mind. I was really intrigued about maybe becoming a detective. I wasn't sure like what direction that would go.
Sure.
I actually went up to Weber State and did a tour because they had a great criminal justice degree up there.
Oh yeah.
So I was like really, on the fence of like, okay, what am I doing? And a friend of mine basically just his mom worked with a woman at the local hospital whose husband was a chef. And so like word got out like, hey, Nick's thinking about going to culinary school. And, we all had to just make our decisions quickly here. We're almost graduating. She said, why don't you reach out, have this kid reach out to my husband in Santa Fe, because I grew up in Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Okay.
So I was about 30 minutes from Santa Fe. And Santa Fe was really known for, Southwest fine dining, a lot of upscale restaurants in Santa Fe, and like really artsy. So, I thought that was like maybe a good starting point, and so I hit up the chef and told him like, hey, I'm about to graduate high school. I'd be interested in coming down. This is how I got the connection. And he's like, yeah, just come down. We'll have you one night, and you can do what's called a stage. A stage is, somebody would go into the kitchen and basically do a trial run, to see what kind of like, engagement you have or what kind of skill level you have in a kitchen. Well, I had nothing, man.
Yeah.
I was like barely not even out of high school yet. Sure. I had like a couple of home ec classes and barely cooked at home a little bit, So then the chefs, kind of put me on a station, gave me an apron. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. Like a lot of the cooks were helping me out or like giving me projects. And I just left there that night, like, this is incredible, and this is like something I could see myself doing. But before
you weren't scared away. You were impressed, and you
was not scared. Yeah, if anything, it was like more adrenaline. Like, wow, this is crazy. This is fun.
Yeah.
And school was never like a big important thing for me. I just did not like book work. I was very hands-on, very visual. So I told the chefs before I left, I was like, I'm looking for a job. This is for the summer, and they literally both looked at me and they're like, why don't you just come work here? And I'm like, you guys kidding? Like, this is one of the finest restaurants in Santa Fe at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have no experience. Like, the fact that you just came down, as a high school student, it's already points for you. I was like, wow, okay. So basically just said, here's your job. And if you want it, it's yours. And that after I graduated, a few weeks after I graduated, man, it was, okay, here's my first day on the job. And I just remember the first week I was there, and I was so just drawn to it. Something about it was, I got to do this, And so then at the time, obviously trying to figure out where I'm going, I could go to culinary school if I wanted to. Culinary school to me was, they would bring, college and stuff to your high school, and like, you go talk to all the people. They're trying to recruit people, and the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America.
Sure.
The other CIA, the not
other,
justice CIA,
exactly,
criminal justice CIA.
That they had somebody there that I was talking to, and they started talking about the price of school, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is culinary school, like I'm not going to Duke or something.
Yeah,
sure.
They're like, yes, you're going to the Duke of.
I mean, technically you would be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like they are the prestigious, most prestigious culinary school in America, if not one in the world. But I was like, I don't know if I'm dedicated enough to that yet. Like I'm still trying to figure stuff out. I don't want my parents to drop a bunch of money and then I drop out, and so the other option was that I go to Santa Fe Community College in Santa Fe, try to do my degree there, and then go to school at the same time. And there was a really cool incentive program through New Mexico, the New Mexico Lottery. So the New Mexico Lottery actually offers students that are graduating high school to pay for their tuition, basically in state for up to 4 years, depending on what kind of school you're going to. So it's a great incentive program for me to like dig into it and basically have my school paid for, go to a small school. They had a new program in Santa Fe Community College where, they kind of brought in this chef that sort of revamped it. They gave him some money and cleaned up the kitchen, make it really nice. And I was very intrigued by that. I was like, might be an opportunity for me to get my degree and also work at the same time.
So what technically is your degree going through the community college? What's your?
It was a culinary, culinary arts degree in, I guess it was just culinary arts of science, I believe it was.
Okay.
That was like 24 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
Your experience totally outweighs all that.
It's gone now. Like I forgot about that.
Sure.
So then from there, you graduated. You started working at that restaurant, and you were there for a little while. And then you decided to what was like now it's time to move on. Point for you.
So I worked in Santa Fe for about almost 7 years. Worked for that restaurant for a few years. Then I kind of went and worked for other couple chefs there in Santa Fe. And then eventually I was just like, you know what, I gotta try something new. And a buddy of mine had moved to Las Vegas a year prior to me leaving Santa Fe. He's like, dude, come out to Vegas. He's like, if you want to get the experience, like this is a great way to get going. And like understand, high volume fine dining. And Santa Fe was great. Don't get me wrong, that was like that's my roots. I live and die by that.
Sure.
But Vegas was exciting, right? I was like, all right, I'm gonna go out to Vegas. Like, let's make this happen. So I went and visited him for a weekend, passed out a couple resumes and checked out a few spots, and I just stumbled across this restaurant that was like kind of in his neighborhood, and it was a tapas restaurant. So it was like small plates. I love tapas. I used to work in a tapas restaurant in Santa Fe. I ended up just walking in, and I met a couple of the chefs there, and I was like, wow, this is sweet. Like these guys are just cool. They welcomed me in. We had a conversation, and basically just made the offer. And they're like, cool, well, we'll take you on. I was like, great, I'll be out in a month. So I basically just dropped everything. I quit my job in Santa Fe, even though I loved that chef. I just was like, man, I got to go. I'm sorry. And bailed out there. And I mean, literally, that's where kind of my career sort of like reinvented itself. Got out to Vegas, really kind of had a roller coaster ride of work and trying to figure out where I'm at, the first like year and a half. And then the housing recession hit in 2008, which was, kind of devastating because it was hard to find a job, that really spoke to me as far as a chef, and, the economy was just struggling. And so eventually, a buddy of mine, I worked for this tapas restaurant, then that ended up, not working out for me. It was just working way too many hours, it was like literally 16-hour days, like 6 days a week. It was absurd.
Jeez.
I ended up, helping open another restaurant, and then like, it's just a whole long story that I could go on and on about, but eventually found my way to Mesa Grill in Caesar's Palace. So a buddy of mine was like, hey, I think they're hiring, like you should try to get in. And I attempted as hard as I could, and I did a stage, and I basically told the chef, like called the chef, or the chef called me the next day and offered me the position, as a line cook. And I was like, great, let's go. And it was weird because I was like, wow, I'm working for Mesa Grill. This is Bobby Flay's restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have always looked up to Bobby Flay, I mean, like as a young cook, I've always respected Bobby's, his skill level is like, he is a good cook. I mean, he's a great cook, you know, and that's always what I've, you know, respected about him is like the guy just knows how to put flavors together.
Yeah.
You know? And when I went to his restaurant in Mesa in Caesar's Palace, all his food was like so similar to like stuff I had cooked in Santa Fe, you know, because like his roots were like, you know, deep into that Southwest flair, you know, and that's where he got super popular in New York was Mesa Grill New York, and that was like in the 90s basically where it just like changed the entirety of what New York dining was, because nobody's ever really seen Southwest cuisine like that. So after he opened Mesa Grill in New York, he opened it in Vegas, and then I found myself there, and I was cooking a lot of very similar flavor profiles that I did in Santa Fe, and I was like, wow, I fit here, you know, this is my style. And I did that for 6.5 years-ish, and eventually I was just like, all right, you know, I cooked for 3 years as a line cook. I got promoted as a sous chef for 3 years. So it was cool to like be a sous chef at his restaurant, because it was like I'm leading the team of you know, Bobby Flay's food. And, you know, we didn't have a lot of say. And as far as like changing menus, it was Bobby's brand, you know, so you kind of just.
Did he ever come into the restaurant?
Yeah. So he came in probably, you know, maybe 4 times a year. You know, I mean,
popped his head in and says hi to everybody.
Yeah, he would pop in and hang out for a couple days, you know.
Would he cook with you guys too?
Yeah, he would, you know. Not all the time, but he would definitely get in and we would cook some stuff, especially when you're doing like new menu rollouts or something like that. You know, he'd had his corporate chef there, but he would be back there cooking, you know, and we'd work through recipes and stuff like that. So it was cool to like just be side by side next to
that's really cool.
a celebrity. And, you know, Bobby's been around for so long. It's like, you know, I just always was like, wow, this is Bobby Flay, and I can't believe I'm working for him.
Yeah.
I remember the first restaurant I worked at in Santa Fe where he came in for lunch one day, and he was like sitting in this corner table, and I was like poking my head through the service door, and like, oh my god,
like fangirling
Bobby
a little
Flay
bit
over there.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
So it was like weird to like come back and like, oh man, I work for him, and now he's standing right there. You know? Yeah. So like 6.5 years go by, and just felt like it was time for me to move on, you know, and so eventually went to SW Steakhouse at Wynn, which is a very prestigious steakhouse in Las Vegas, period, if not the country, and really dug deep into. It's funny, I always told myself I'd probably never work for a steakhouse.
Yeah,
and I did, you know. So I've kind of learned to like, don't ever say never say never.
Yeah,
sure,
it'll get you.
Sure.
Yeah, because like it's coming back. Did 2.5 years there as a sous chef as well, and learned a lot about like Japanese Wagyu and you know, just high end steaks, and you know, I mean, it's a steakhouse, you know?
Right?
But that was a beast. That place was a beast. I mean, people spend money at steakhouses, man.
Yeah,
you know, they definitely don't. They don't turn an eye to dollars. It's like,
oh,
Kobe, let me get like 10 ounces of that.
That's
you know?
nuts.
It's like, well, okay, that was like $1,000. You know?
Yeah,
it was good to be involved in a place like that, because you sort of just learn how to like take yourself to another level.
Yeah,
you know, as far as like what you're looking for, and then you're around a lot of really great chefs as well. You know, I mean, the chef I worked for there, David Walzog, you know, I have so much respect for him, and he was just a cool guy to work with as well, you know, and I just learned a lot, you know, in a short amount of time. But then I felt like, okay, where am I going? It's hard to be a chef in Vegas. You're really trying to work your way up as quickly as you can, but it's so hard.
How much does a chef, maybe a range, right? How much can a chef expect to make if you're in Vegas? Because I would anticipate there's multiple tiers depending on what you do and whatever, but like, so you're a line chef or a sous chef, like what?
Yeah, I'm kind of out of the loop now. But you know, a sous chef could make anywhere between like probably 50 and 60,000 a year.
Okay.
And then, you know, if you get to a very high executive chef position at a really great restaurant, I mean, you could potentially be making $250,000 a year.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, especially if you're in the hotels.
Sure.
You know, like the hotels, you know, they're beasts. You know, I mean, like we were doing, you know, at SW, I mean, every night we're doing close to 800 covers. So, I mean, like if you think about steakhouses, like steakhouses will do 1,000 covers in a night.
A cover is
like per person. Like how many people you're going to turn?
Yeah.
So like 1,000 people essentially.
Gotcha.
You could be feeding about 1,000 people a night. Think about that in the sense of plates.
Sure.
Right? If everyone's doing 3 plates essentially. You know, I mean, you're serving 3,000 plates possibly in one service.
Yeah.
You know? So
plus the alcohol, you're upwards like $300 to $700 per person.
I mean, potentially, you know, depending on if
that's crazy.
Especially they order the Kobe beef or the
Yeah,
the Hokkaido beef or whatever it is. You know, 4 ounces of that is like $300. You know, and it's like,
wow.
All right, so you started at 300. Now you got an appetizer. Now you got a cocktail.
Sure.
You know, so
That could be a whole other podcast. Talk about
100%.
that. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the amount of money. So yeah, I you know, after 2 years, you know, my wife and I had kind of talked about moving to Utah, and she has some family here, and I actually was born here in Utah, so I was born in Layton.
Oh wow,
Cool.
Come back to your roots. Right?
Yeah, kind of. You know, I mean, it was like, you know, my mom grew up here, and then my dad went to the University of Utah. They met. So then my dad graduated, and he got a job in Los Alamos, and I was like, I don't know, a year old or something when they moved there. So
so you didn't really know Utah.
I didn't know Utah until I started getting a little bit older, and then coming up and visiting family here, and you know, driving through Salt Lake up to Layton, Kaysville, and all those areas.
Yeah.
So it was always kind of like, I loved Utah. You know, I loved it. It was like, the mountains are beautiful. I just loved how everything was laid out, and I got excited every time I came up here. And so like my wife and I were talking, and basically just we made the decision, you know, like let's move. And I just told her, I was like, you know, I need to figure out you know, the correct way to get my career started, because even though I'd been working for the hotels, it's like you could wait for years to become an executive chef, you know, because a lot of the chefs there could stay for years. I mean, their
competition is fierce, right?
So fierce. It's incredibly fierce, especially in Vegas, you know. You're always fighting against somebody else. And I just felt like, you know, if I need to get my career going, I gotta do something else. I gotta be running my own kitchen.
Yeah, sure. You didn't want to cut, you know, all the prestigious and really expensive hotels in Utah, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So, you know, Park City was up on that list.
Oh, that's true. There is some places in Park City that are pretty good.
Park City was on that list. So eventually, you know, it was super random. We were coming up for my niece's birthday for the weekend, and I just literally typed in, I was like, you know, chef jobs in Salt Lake City. And one popped up in Park City, and I reached out to the chef, and I said, hey, look, I'm coming up for the weekend. I saw your ad, and I would just love to have a chat, you know. So we came up, linked up, went up to the restaurant in Park City and had a quick chat, and you know, a week or two later, not even a week or two, I think it was a few days, he's like, hey, I want you to come back up and do a tasting, you know, and basically kind of do a stage again.
A stage?
Yeah, stage.
That seems to be like, it sounds like there's a lot of that's like a mechanism, just be like, all right, let's see if we like you. It's like a informal interview mechanism, right?
I mean, I've taken it on, you know, at my restaurant now is like, I really don't let anybody get hired unless I have that conversation or you work in the kitchen for 4 hours, because I want to see what kind of skill level you have.
Oh, interesting.
Because you can talk it up all day.
Sure.
Right?
But show me.
But show me exactly what you're about.
Yeah.
So I went up, did a stage, and I did a tasting for him, and did like 5 courses, and he offered me the job on the spot. And so I said, cool, let me figure some stuff out, you know, kind of gave a timeline on when we could be up. And we made it happen, and we left Las Vegas. And yeah, it was bittersweet, you know. I mean, I had a really good time in Vegas. I met my wife in Vegas. You know, we got married there. There's a lot of really positive things that we accomplished there, you know, and it was hard to leave that. But, you know, it's like you kind of have to just sort of put that behind you and start fresh, you know, and what direction am I going? So worked for that restaurant in Park City for about 3.5 years. You know, we went through the pandemic together.
Yeah.
And that was pretty wild. That was a really weird time.
Yeah, for
everybody. Yeah.
Food. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And food especially, right? I mean, like I was definitely an industry that got hit the hardest, I think, in a lot of ways. So adaptability was big time, you know. And then, in 2021, the restaurant group I work for now, they hit me up and said, hey, you know, we're going to open this brand new restaurant in Salt Lake City. And from the beginning, I was like, I want to be in Salt Lake City. Like, there was one of the reasons my wife and I moved here was like, every time we came up, it's like, dude, look at Salt Lake. It's exploding.
Yeah, it's growing like
There's
crazy.
something happening here that, you know, has needed to happen for a long time. And I was very, very interested in being part of that from the beginning, you know, or at least the beginning stages of it. And so when they reached out and said, hey, you know, we're opening in Salt Lake, I was like, all right, let's have a conversation. Because I wanted to be in Salt Lake. I was driving from here down in Salt Lake Valley to Park City, and I did that for almost 4 years. It was like, after a while, I was like, I'm just getting burnt out by this, And I didn't really feel like I was engaged with what was happening in Salt Lake because I was spending all my time in Park City, you know, signing on with these guys. And we opened Urban Hill. They brought me on real early in the process because they wanted me to help consult with, the architects about designing the kitchen and, ideas on the kitchen flow and things like that. And so just being part of the opening construction, if you will, was super rad. It was like, all right, this is something new for me, because this is like what I've been waiting for. It's like an opportunity to do that. Yeah, here we are, almost 3 years later. That's cool. In December, and we've done very, very well. The restaurant's done awesome.
And you'd consider the executive chef is what it is, that the title that you have there.
Yeah. So what's the difference? I got the executive chef position.
Yeah. Help people who don't know understand the difference between like the
layout of a kitchen.
I think people know what a sous chef is because of Ratatouille.
What a great movie!
Yeah, sure.
I still watch it. It's amazing.
Is so good. Ratatouille is such a good movie, especially for chefs. But like the difference between, I think, like sous chef, but like there's like a different hierarchy between, or a differentiation between like a head chef versus a corporate chef versus an executive chef. Like I don't know what.
Yeah, there's a ton of terminology in the industry. Essentially, how it works is like simple breakdown. It's like a line cook, then you go to a sous chef. Or you could even go from line cook to like chef de partie, sous chef, executive sous chef. Mm-hmm. There's also chef de cuisine, and then there's executive chef. Mm. So like each tier, so executive chef typically is like you're the boss, you're the top dog. Chef de cuisine or executive sous chef would be second in line. So essentially, if the executive chef is out, chef de cuisine takes over, and then follow the tier, right? Sous chef is below chef de cuisine or executive sous chef, and then your chef de partie could be another aspect of that below the sous chef. So maybe like your lead line cook or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then your line cooks. So it's a kind of a complicated, it's almost like a brigade system in the military, essentially, right? It's like you're eventually working your way up that ladder. You know?
So the executive chef to corporal.
Yeah. The executive chef is the one who, if we're going to add a new dish, you're the one who decides what it is, how it's made, and like the process and then like you're the one who decides this is what we're gonna make, and then you tell everybody else this is how I want you to do it.
Like how it's plated and everything too.
Yeah, I mean, technically you could say that. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily how I structure it. It's like I want input from everybody, but I do have the final say, right? But yeah, there are chefs, executive chefs out there that be like, this is my menu, I'll do it how I want it, and then you guys have to do it how I want it. Right.
So for Urban Hill, were you the one who like built the entire menu and everything from scratch?
Yeah. Also in conjunction with, so at the time we had a culinary director, which kind of oversaw the plans for that. So we had basically just collaboration, on ideas and what's your identity of the restaurant too? I mean, you got to kind of figure that out. Sure. It's like, are you a steakhouse? Are you a cafe? Are you a quote unquote bistro or something like that? So we just considered ourselves as like an upscale fine dining restaurant, that's got a versatile menu. It's like something for everybody essentially.
Sure. I would imagine that for someone like more on the business side of it, and maybe there's some planning in discussions with the executive chef as well. But when you're opening a restaurant, I'd assume there's a lot of like, we know that there's a demand for this type of food and there's a lacking of this and people want this. And so I would assume that there's probably research before a restaurant is opened. But then once the restaurant's opened, then there's planning on what you want to do and et cetera. But which sounds like it happened. And that's kind of how Urban Hill, and this isn't the first restaurant that your company, I think it's like Hearth Hill?
Yeah, so our company is called Hilltop Hospitality.
Oh, sorry.
But we also have Hearth and Hill, and then we also have Hill's Kitchens.
Okay.
So we have two Hearth and Hills and two Hill's Kitchens. Hearth and Hill in Park City was the original restaurant of that group.
Okay.
And that was probably close to 7 years ago. And that restaurant is it's basically an upscale casual restaurant where everything's scratch made, but very in tune to like your neighborhood restaurant where families can go.
Yeah, sure.
It's a success. I mean, it started off as the first restaurant in the area of Kimball Junction, and here it is 7 years later, still going strong. So
that's cool. Do you guys have like brainstorming sessions at Urban Hill of like if there is a want from someone to expand or do a new dish that like all you guys come together or like
100%. And I really try to make sure that is apparent because I don't, I feel like part of my career was like very stagnant. It's like, yeah, I'm just going through the motions. It's like I want to create stuff. I'm a chef. Like I want to be a chef. Like I want to create food. I can't. It's really hard to like follow, somebody else's line of work. Is like, oh yeah, okay, I'm the sous chef, but like, what am I doing? I'm just kind of doing what
a lot of execution.
Just doing what I'm being told. Like I want to start creating stuff, and so I've made it very clear with my team, like, collaboration is a huge thing. Like, what are your ideas? First and foremost, it's like, lean on my style as far as the executive chef, but give them some freedom to open up their minds and like explore flavor profiles and like talk through the dishes and techniques. And so every time we do a menu change, we typically keep it seasonal, and it's like, four times a year, and then small incremental changes, depending on seasonality and things like that, or, locality of what kind of like produce we're using. I want to make sure that each chef has a say in something, So
there's a cost that comes with the changing menu, right? It's like you have to get new supplies, you have to reprint menus, training, or whatever it is, and then you have to train everybody. Right. I have this imaginary thing in this world in my brain where it's like these nice restaurants have like Iron Chef competitions on Mondays or Tuesdays between the people who work there, and then whoever wins their dish makes it to the menu.
Gordon Ramsay's putting people's heads.
Just be like, all right, everybody, we're doing an Iron Chef, and like one of the closed days or in the morning, like everyone's prepping, and then they do their thing, and then they
that's a good idea.
Go through it. Then by you could probably turn that into a show.
You maybe just implemented something at Urban Hill.
I know. That would be
hey, look, I'm taking that away, and I might think about it. Yeah.
Right.
Do a dry run of it and see how it goes.
See what happens.
Like, all right, everybody, we're doing an Iron Chef. Yeah. Winners gets their item put on the menu for a special menu item.
Hey, one of our mantras for the company is inspire our associates.
Yeah.
So that might be a good one.
Yeah. That's how my brain, like, I imagine.
It's like a hackathon.
Decisions. It's like a hackathon. But that's how that's how my brain interprets. It's like I see these different things that happen, and I always try to think like what's the logistics of how these things happen on the back end. And so the simplest form would be, the executive chef comes in and says, I had an inspiration, and he was like made it in his home kitchen, and he comes home and says, everyone needs to try this
at 2 a.m.
Yeah. I literally do that. That's facts. That's real cool. Life, man.
Yeah.
I'll come in and I'll tell the sous chefs like, hey, like I'm excited about this particular thing or whatever, and like we'll talk about it, and or I'll bring it in as a special, right? And we'll be like, okay, well, let's bring that product in, right? And let's run it as a special and like see what impact we have on the guest with that kind of food, especially if it's something that most people don't even see, or they've never even heard of, It's like maybe there's a cool fish, that I'm like, oh, we got to get this fish in.
Yeah.
But I'm like, does anybody know what this fish is?
Sure.
But I got to train the staff as much as possible, give them as much information as possible, so that they can spiel that at the table.
Yeah, the servers and have to sell it to some degree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think a couple thoughts is I have a number of questions, but I'm not going to be able to ask all of them in the amount of time that we have dedicated.
Wait, hold on. Think of hold your thought for a moment.
Okay, what?
Just so you know, my thought was if on the special menu where they come out and they're like, oh, and here at the bottom we have the Iron Chef winner of this last month from the I'm just like maybe it becomes
that's
like
cool.
a feature of the restaurant that
cool.
that they have your okay, sorry. Okay. I wanted to close the gap on my
Hey, that's fair. That's all right.
Well, we put the Beat Bobby Flay in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
When you do decide to do a new dish or a new flavor or something, I think this may sound like a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. How do you go about knowing that people like it? I think there's a matter of like, you could probably get feedback, just pure sales also. But like, how do you know it's like that thing that we just came up with last week, we trained everybody. I was excited about it. I think it's going to be great. And then like, I wouldn't imagine chefs are just like watching people's reactions, but maybe like, how do you determine that a meal that you made is good and is going to stick?
Yeah, so anytime we do like a menu change, or we're thinking about considering a menu change, we will run that specific dish for a few days. It's going to be very experimental to our customers. But if we're serious about it, and we say, hey, this is going to hit the menu, typically what we'll do is we'll have all of our chefs do it, but then we'll have our managers taste it as well. And we kind of have like this back and forth, like, hey, did you like this? But you also have to lean on like, your background of flavor profiles and like understanding food, period. What goes with what, and if it's like, if this carrot goes with this piece of fish and it just, they melt together so lovely, it's like, well, how could that fail? Not every dish is going to be 100%, obviously. Some dishes are harder to sell than others, but I think when you really think about menu research and development and you think about your flavors that you use, you lean on your servers, obviously, during specials. Is the presentation look nice? What kind of produce is it? Is it seasonal? Are you using, like I never use I very, very, very rarely, if ever, I'm going on camera saying this, but it's like, I try my very, very hardest to keep everything as seasonal as possible, right? Nice. And it's because it's important, right? I don't want to bring something that's not in season and like, you're not going to have
it's going to taste as good.
You're going to have a caprese tomato salad on your December menu. I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, so you have these crappy tomatoes that are coming up in December.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, doesn't make sense,
Right.
Like right now I have insane, beautiful heirloom tomatoes, right, that I'm using, but it's like, I'm not going to put those on the menu in December.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I think it leans a lot on like feedback from servers, feedback from your management, feedback from your chefs, and we taste them, like we'll make a dish and we'll taste it. It's like you look at each other and you're like, oh my gosh, guys, like that was awesome.
Sure.
Like there's no way this dish could fail, because like just the amount of flavors that you're getting out of it or whatever it is. So yeah, it's a lot goes into it, but you also like, you take the time to make sure that dish is correct.
In my head, in the chef world, probably because of TV,
yeah,
I think of like
probably
Bobby Flay, I think of Gordon Ramsay, and others like that. It's like there's skills that they have. Excuse me, skills that they have as far as like super tasters or whatever, right? Like, so what talent would you say, if someone wanting to become a chef, would they need? Like, I think kind of the obvious of you got to know how food works, but like, what are some other things that you would recommend a chef have?
Experience. I think experience is just so crucial. I grew up in New Mexico, so like immediately getting into the restaurant scene in New Mexico is spices. It's like chilies. Southwest food is leaning on. I always kind of like look at my background is like I lean on like Spanish flavors, Mexican flavors, Native American flavors. Those are kind of the roots of what Southwest cuisine is.
Sure.
And so, but if somebody's coming from like the East Coast, they're not going to have that experience.
Right.
And so I encourage young cooks to like, I don't expect all my cooks to hang out with me forever, right? But if like I can get 2 years out of them or 3 years out of them, I can show them 1,000 different ingredients that they can take away. And at the next restaurant they're working at, maybe that ingredient that they've used in the past doesn't exist there, and they can bring that in and be like, hey, chef, I worked at this restaurant and we used this ingredient. You think we could bring that in and we do some experiments on it or whatever? And I think that's the biggest thing is like I'm fortunate to have used and been in a lot of restaurants where I'm very versatile as far as like how many ingredients I've used in my career.
Sure.
Because like, I'm introducing new ingredients to all these cooks, repetitively, and they're like, whoa, it kind of blows their mind, And that's what it's about though, is like me teaching them that so they can take that and, take that experience away and use that somewhere else, because you can't just be a meat and potatoes chef, all the time. Like you gotta develop stuff. You gotta, you have to go with the times, what are people looking for? Or how can I introduce new ingredients to my customers as well? I think that's another thing is like people are learning about their food more than ever, right? I mean, right on their phones, you can look up anything. Instagram is huge, right? I mean, people like are obsessed with cooking, cooking reels and and they start following all these influencers that are at home
like
cooks.
Oh, I could do that. Yeah, let's try it at home.
Yeah,
that's true.
And that's become very, very clear that people are understanding more about food and faster than ever before.
I'm curious to add to that too. Like you said, when you bring the person in for their
stage,
and you want to see them working, like what is it that you look for during that period of time while they're there? It's like you're bringing them in. Granted, I would I would assume that, depending on like their expertise and their skill level, you would look for different things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, like, taking that range into account, what are the sorts of things that you want to see when someone's coming in for a stage?
Yeah. I make it very, very clear when we have that, it's kind of like this interview process, right?
Mm-hmm.
You come in, introduce ourselves. I give them a tour of the kitchen and kind of introduce themselves to the cooks. But, I make it very clear, like, hey, I need you to be engaged. And what that means is, like, I need you hands-on. I want you to get involved. I want you to start talking. I've had a lot of stages that will come in and they just kind of stand there and they're just like a ghost in headlights. Like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. You can see it in their face,
Sure.
Instead of like, I've had really great stages where it's like immediately that person they got their knife out, they're prepared, they're wearing the right clothing.
Mm-hmm.
You can just tell from their demeanor. It's like that
Yeah.
initial sense of like, is this person scared to talk to me because I'm the
Right.
executive chef, or like, are they open talking to me? Personalities, things like that, and it makes a big difference. I mean, you want somebody in your kitchen that's going to be engaged and aware of what's going on, aware of their surroundings. Knife skills is our big one, right? It's like, okay, one of the first things I tell them is like, you're going to chop this onion, or you're going to chop these chives, or, kind of just get a sense of like, how have they used a knife before?
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Sure.
I'll even look at their knife and be like, what kind of knife is this person using?
Yeah.
It's like, is this like a $5 Walmart knife, or is
Do they
this
bring you say for them to bring in their own
Yeah.
equipment?
Yeah, I want them to bring in their own equipment, like any personal tools, knives or whatever.
Okay.
Just because I want them to be comfortable. I don't want them to. I mean, I have house knives in my kitchen, but it's
Sure.
like, I don't. It's like if I went to another chef and used their knife, it's like I would feel uncomfortable using their knife for one, because it's like that's not the knife I use every day.
It's like driving someone else's car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to be more careful about it or whatever. And so I always tell them, bring their stuff in and have your own personal tools, because that's what you're comfortable with, and I kind of gauge like, okay, what'd they bring? What are they professionally dressed? Like
Right.
like a professional cook. So there's a lot to it. I think and the engagement is a big one. It's like I don't want them to be this shy person kind of standing on
Mm-hmm.
the side, like waiting to be told, like, hey, come over here. Like, I want you to watch what the cook is doing. And if that cook has made that dish twice, it's now your turn to do it. Right. And if you can't do that after watching it 2 or 3 times, yeah, I'm a little weary about hiring you.
Sure.
I mean, I think a lot of cooks, a lot of chefs were so visual
Mm-hmm.
that, like, if you're engaged in watching the chef do it, you can pretty much pick that up right away. Like, oh yeah, saw him do it a couple times. I got this. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not that complicated. Just watch all the intricacies, behind it and plating it. And I've had some really good ones and I've had some really bad ones. And I know right away. It's like, wow, that guy's definitely going to be. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Or I may offer the job on the spot.
Sure.
Or I may just be like, hey, thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Sure.
Yeah. You're like, after an hour, you're like, listen.
Yeah,
This isn't gonna work. I'm
No, like,
sorry.
you can seriously tell that. I think now that I've had so much experience,
Yeah.
even in my younger days, like, you'd see a stage come in and it's like, oh, this guy can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least I
It's-
can't do it yet, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you got to get some things.
Eventually.
For sure. And I definitely take that into consideration. Like, can I teach this person?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Maybe they're engaged, but their skill level's still kind of like on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
But can I teach them? That's my job now. I feel like, it's like mentorship, because I used to be that guy.
Yeah.
I had no experience, So I kind of look back at my childhood and I'm like, okay, well, you're barely 18 and you had 0 experience,
Mm-hmm.
but you worked your way up to the top, eventually.
Sure.
And it just took a lot of effort, But those guys gave me an opportunity, and they said, we're going to train you. We're going to get you to where you need to be. I'm like, cool. I take that into consideration now. It's like if I can see somebody that I can pull and be like, you know what, I'm going to turn this guy into a good cook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah. If they're ambitious and eager enough to do
Yes.
the thing, like that alone, I feel like is more and more rare to find.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, doesn't matter on the skill. Like, I could teach you the skill, but just like if you're hungry for it, let's go.
Absolutely.
So what would you say if you executive chef Nick now saw 18-year-old stage Nick? What would
I
you
would have hired him on
What-
that
what-
on the spot.
Yeah. No, your potential.
What would you
Straight up. I
what would you
been
tell
like,
him?
hey, bro, you want a job?
Well, what would you tell him? What would your advice be to
Yeah.
younger Nick, or even like somebody else who's like just barely thinking about it or starting in? in your current place?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot behind that. One of the biggest drivers is just stay focused. You know, I think if you really want to get into this industry, you need to stay focused. You know, it's a roller coaster. I mean, I've been through a lot. I look back at when I was young Nick and just now, and compared to now, and like, man, the young Nick was young and reckless, you know, and
living life.
I mean, literally
in Vegas.
In Vegas.
I mean, of course you're young, you know, it's like, you know, you're out of high school. It's like, all right, this is where my life begins, you know. But certainly, you know, I was very young and reckless, and you know, I did a lot of stupid things, but you know, and I think there's a lot to be said about that, but also, you know, what direction are you going? Like, if you're going to make this your career, eventually you need to really revisit your focus, right? And be dedicated to the craft. You know, I always, you know, my thing is just be a good cook. You know, like, be a good cook in the sense of, like, if this is what you're doing every day, do it to your best ability possible. You know, and when I was hired there at the restaurant in Santa Fe, my very first job, you know, I dedicated myself to say, hey, you're gonna cook at every single station in this restaurant within a year and a half. Like, that's the goal that I set for myself, and I did it in less time because I wanted it so bad. You know, that's something I would always tell young cooks now is like, hey, look, like, if you're coming into this kitchen, this is where I'm going to start you.
Sure.
But in a year from now, you're going to be a completely different cook, and I'm going to make sure that happens, you know, because I want you to be from, you know, the salad station to the grill station as quickly as possible, because it's important for the restaurants. You know, it's like, I can't have one person on the same station all the time.
Sure.
Especially if, like, somebody calls out sick or whatever. Like, I need to make some transitions and, you know, put people in stations, you know, that can accomplish that station, because otherwise we're kind of screwed. You know, it's like, well, I got all these people on the line, but nobody knows how to cook on the grill station.
Right.
You know, and it's like, well, that's my fault.
Yeah, as the person who's running the place.
Yeah, that's my fault. Just stay dedicated, stay focused.
Yeah, it seems like it would be very easy to just kind of like fall into a place and just kind of get comfortable there, and then just you know, which is fine.
I am salad station.
Which is
Don't
fine.
touch anything else.
People do that.
If that's what you want to do, like, that's fine. You know, you can dedicate your craft and, like, hone in and become a specialist if you want to. But if what you're saying is if your goal is to become an executive chef and that's the place you want to be, then you need to stay focused and make those goals to get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I worked in a restaurant. I was a chain during college. I was a waiter. Nothing too fancy, but, like, just even knowing that there was, like, a frying station, and there was the grill, there was a flat top, and then there was our salad station, and then there was prep in the back. It's like, knowing how a restaurant works in general, I think that is just really good knowledge for everybody to know.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, if you want to work, I mean, you're talking about, like, if I needed something from the salad chef, there were many times where I would go down there and say, hey, can you help me with this thing? It's slow. And they're like, I don't know how to do that. Oh, okay, crap. And the manager would have to come out, help out, and everything. So I think the cross-training, I think both Tyler and I were in the corporate world, we're in tech, and it's not as common where there's a lot of cross-training, right? We have our dedicated roles. We do the things within our role, and then if we need something else, we just go talk to the other person, and then they're the one to go do X, Y, Z. Yeah. Whereas a restaurant and a kitchen is very much like, be cross-trained.
Yeah.
Is what it sounds like.
It's huge. You have to. I mean, like, to set yourself up for success is cross training. I mean, that's it. You know, that's like, cool. I understand some people, like, you know, in the hotels. Yeah, so a lot of people, like, work the same station every single day.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, and it's like, well, it's like, I get that, but bro, I'm gonna be a chef.
Yeah. They get comfortable.
Like I want to know everything about every station.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I'm gonna ever get to the top. Is like, if the executive chef doesn't know how to cook on the grill station, how did you become the executive chef?
Right. Yeah. Why are you there? Yeah.
So I'm curious. You beat Bobby Flay.
Yeah, I did.
How do you, like, get into even, like, be part of that? Is it just like an application you submit and then they pick you kind of thing?
Yeah, technically you have to set up yourself with an application.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, this time I actually got reached out to by a producer.
Oh yeah, they were just recruiting
on the Food Network.
Yeah, like a recruiter.
Oh, okay.
And so they had sent an email or something about, hey, you know, we're interested in talking to Chef Nick. And I was like, cool. I mean, my wife has pushed me to do TV shows, cooking shows for years.
She's like, you're so handsome. You need to be on TV.
She is, I swear to God, man. There's a show called Chopped.
Yeah.
She's been pushing me for over a decade to get on that show. And I just always blew her off. I'm like, nah, it's not for me. It's whatever.
Sure.
And, in hindsight, I look at it, I'm like, yeah, it's okay, whatever. But
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah.
So if anyone from Chopped is watching,
yeah.
I mean, Chef Nick is here.
we'll add them in the comments.
Yeah.
There you go.
So then you got recruited, and then
So I did have to fill out an application.
Of course.
You go through like a interview process. They decide, and fortunately I was chosen, and that was a pretty intense moment.
and then they shoot for like what, like a week or two, or is that?
Oh, this was really fast. So
Just like a couple days.
not even a couple days. Like
One
a
day.
day.
They fly you in for one day.
Fly in. So I literally flew in on a Sunday,
Uh-huh.
did the show on Monday, and I flew back out on Tuesday.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Okay, I didn't even know.
Yeah, it was fast. So do the interviews. I had to, submit, my signature dish so they could have all the ingredients there.
It was
Yeah.
a chili relleno, right?
Chili relleno, yeah.
Yeah.
And I went like a kind of a spin off of it. I didn't do a super traditional one, but
I didn't watch the episode. I'm trying to stream it, but
okay.
HBO and all these other places are kind of being difficult. But yeah.
Amazon Prime, I think, is the best.
Oh,
one.
really?
Yeah.
Okay,
Alright,
I'll check it out on Prime.
Yeah, because I think HBO is kind of behind for some reason. But
Oh, okay.
man, it was just it was a blink of an eye, and it was a complete dream. Like super funny that you brought that up, because not last night, the night before, literally they're watching. My wife and I are watching TV and.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of flipping through the channels, and Beat Bobby Flay show was on. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to turn it on, watch it. And I watched, I think it was like halfway through that one episode, and finished that episode. And then immediately my episode came on without even me realizing it.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, I saw Eva Longoria there on the screen, and I was like watching. Oh, this is my episode.
But that's me.
That's my episode. I'm like, she's never even been on the show, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's because it's your episode, dude.
That's hilarious.
So I sat there and I watched it with my wife, and it was like, what?
Yeah.
It was weird, man. It was like a dream.
You're like, that's me.
It
That's
happened,
cool,
everything
though.
happened so fast. It was so fast. But
So wait, so you beat it. Your dish was a chili relleno,
yeah,
which is, I mean, you're saying that Bobby Flay, his flavor profile is also built in that same area. So
Yeah.
that's like a badge of honor to beat him
yeah.
in his own domain.
So
Right?
I always tell everybody I went straight for the jugular.
Yeah,
yeah, you got him.
Because it was like, I kept thinking about they ask you what's your signature dish.
Yeah.
And I hate to even say it, but I just had to really think about that. Because I'm like, I don't know, like, what exactly would my signature dish be?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have something up my sleeve that's like I've cooked ever since I started cooking.
Sure.
It's not something I've just cooked a ton of different things, but I was like, I always loved cooking chili rellenos because it was just comfort food for me. I grew up eating that kind of stuff. It's like Southwest food.
It's your ratatouille. No, just kidding.
It kind of is. I mean, it kind of is, right? Literally. And but I was like, I got to do it different. I kind of knew exactly what he was going to do if I did it.
Oh, okay.
Because he had, his chili relleno on the menu at Mesa Grill for many years.
Yeah.
It was dedicated to like the vegetarian side, so it was like stuffed with like roasted eggplant and different cheeses, and it was a good like vegetarian dish to have on the menu. But I just had made it so many times, and I'm like, well, what if I do it traditionally New Mexican style, where it's like dipped in the egg batter and not cornmeal, And I was like, I'm just gonna put a twist on it, and hopefully I'll win. Yeah, it was funny. I mean, I was more concerned about the first competition where it's like you got to go against your competitor,
Right.
because it's like if you lose to your competitor, you don't even get to go.
Against Bobby Flay.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not here to go against this competitor. I'm here to go against. I should say I'm here to beat the competitor,
Sure.
and then if whatever happens against Bobby Flay, great. But
Sure.
I'm here to beat Bobby Flay as well.
Is it a different? I actually have never seen the show.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Is it
It's fun.
when you go against your competitor? Is it the same dish or is it a different dish?
Yeah. So the first round, essentially, you're going against somebody else. They may have a somewhat similar background. I'm not sure, to be honest. You're competing against another chef from somewhere around the country, and Bobby pulls out like a secret ingredient. So you don't even know what you're going to cook that first round.
Oh, okay.
He gives you an ingredient and says, this has to be your ingredient that you showcase on your dish.
Yeah.
And then it's 20 minutes. So you have
20
20
minutes?
minutes.
Yeah. It's so
You have
fast.
20 minutes to cook something and showcase that specific ingredient.
Here's here's some tilapia.
Literally,
20
yeah.
minutes.
Yes, literally.
That's actually happened.
He's like, it's 20 minutes in a shelf over there with everything you possibly could need.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why they're like legitimately sprinting for their supplies and their load station.
I'm telling you, man, that 20 minutes was like, it was a blink of an eye, man. It was a blink of an eye. And like I even hate watching that show now or like my episode.
Yeah.
Because like, I did these meatballs in the first round. And I'm like, man, those meatballs could have been 10 times better.
If you just give me
a little bit more time.
Give me 15 more minutes.
Literally, like those meatballs could have been so awesome. They were okay, but I'm just like, I still think about it. I'm like, dude, you could have done better. But I was like, but I look at it, I'm like, dude, you won. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I still beat myself up over it because it's just like, it's that fire inside, man. It's that passion. It's like, dude, you should have done better on those meatballs, but it's like, whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah,
you definitely got that badge. So kind of flipping it on its head a little bit, what's the dark side or some realities of being a chef that people may not understand or may not know if they want to get into this role?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a lot has changed, but certainly if I was going to say like a dark side or like a weird underbelly of the industry is like, substance abuse is a big one.
Yeah.
Mental health is a big one. Mental health has become, I think, one of the most dominant subjects in the industry recently.
Just because you're working all day, hours on end, and
look, chefs, and this goes for a lot of industries, but I think being in the restaurant industry, period, or the hospitality industry is like you're doing it for the people. You're serving people. It's the job that you're going to dedicate every day to make sure that people have a delicious plate of food in front of them, an experience in front of them. And, we're sacrificing holidays, birthdays, celebrations, all of the above. Like it's a 365 business typically, and holidays are part of that. They're just part of that job.
Yeah, when people want to celebrate, you're the one who's
you're
providing.
The one that, exactly. Yeah. So obviously mental health, long days, long hours, intense pressure. Getting to be, it's one thing to be a line cook, but also, to be an executive chef, the pressure's on you. Everyone's looking at you, And, substance abuse has always been a big one. I think it's it's disappearing in a way, but it used to be back in the day where it's like you're partying all night long.
Yeah. Drugs and alcohol.
It's drugs and alcohol. It's like every day, I've certainly experienced it. I'm not going to lie about that. And it's, you can't get yourself caught up in that because you're just going to ruin everything in your future. You make a big turnaround and come back and get out of it.
Sure.
But it's a big one. Mental health is a big one. The stresses, the sacrificial times that you have to be away from your families. Trust me, I have not spent Thanksgivings or Christmases with my family in a long time.
I could only imagine.
And it's,
you end up finding alternative days to celebrate holidays, essentially.
You kind of have to, and even then it's like, but still not the same,
Right.
I still will never, it's never going to get easier for me to oh man, Christmas or Thanksgiving or anything like that. It's never going to get easier. Or birthdays or just whatever, it's a big one. Mental health though, I think is a big dark side of our industry now. It's become more apparent in the industry that, we need to take care of each other or we need the time off. I think especially when you get to the top, it's like you kind of feel like you need to work 7 days a week. Even on your weekends, you're like, I'm constantly texting, it's my sous chefs or, following up with this or having to make phone calls or, so you're kind of like, it's almost like time away. It's not really like I'm off, you're kind of like, well, I'm still engaged, with my team. I've done a lot better at blocking that out recently, but yeah, you're constantly thinking about certain things, that can affect your mentality, about, is it a bad review, or did one of your cooks do something stupid and you had to write them up, or did you have to fire somebody, or you have to, I don't know. The list can go on and on.
I was thinking, what's your favorite restaurant?
Urban Hill.
No, with the exception. Regardless of place, right? It doesn't have to be Salt Lake, but regardless of Urban Hill. Clearly, Urban Hill, you work there. You know, you're proud of what you've done and the things that you've created. I said, but when you go out to eat, right? Where's like one of your favorite places? And it doesn't have to be the favorite places, but like one of your favorite places.
I think, and also to that, I'm just gonna tack on.
Yeah, piggyback.
What is your favorite dish to make at home?
Ooh, okay.
Oh, that's a tough one. Gosh,
Like pancakes.
I mean,
like
they're
waffles.
they are good. They are good. Favorite restaurants.
I know, kind of putting you on the spot on that one.
Yeah. You know, there's a place my wife and I go in whenever we're in New York City. It's called Emilio's Bellado.
Emilio's Bellado.
Yeah, and it's basically like an Italian restaurant, you know, really old school. But it's just like this really small dining room, right? And it's got crap everywhere. But, you know, it's like
the hole in the wall
boxes of water and wine, and like the storage is kind of like it's like in the dining room.
Yeah, it's very New York.
It's super New York. You know, it's like speakeasy. You got to knock on the door and they're like, hold on a second, we'll let you in a minute. You know, and it's like, you know, it's just kind of a cool vibe. You know, it's got a great vibe to it, but it's got great food too. You know, I mean, we've never had a bad meal there. I don't know. There's so many I could choose, but that stands out to me as like a place that I just enjoy with my wife. You know, and
add it to the map.
You know.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have my Google Maps that I like.
There's a ton of places, man. I mean, like, gosh, we had. There's not like I don't think there's one specific place that I'm gonna be like, I have to go there, but but I can tell you right now, like the Salt Lake City food dining scene is awesome. You know, like
it's changed quite a bit.
Incredibly, man. There's so many cool chefs doing cool things. You know, it's becoming a lot more international, I think, which is super important. I just love the changes going on here. You know, there's a lot of really great talent that's popping up all over the valley, and I'm just glad to be part of that, you know?
Yeah. We recently just got a STK steak.
Yeah.
We got Urban Hill. There's all sorts of places. My wife and I, we live to go to River Horse over in Park City. But what's your favorite thing to make at home?
At home, yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. You know, I really like to cook steak at home.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just something comforting, but like it's not even at work, you know, but it's like cooking a good steak at home with my wife is just enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know? I don't overcomplicate it. I don't know. Like at home, I'm kind of like, I don't cook as much as I should at home. I think, you know, I'd rather take a day off and, hey, where are we going? You know, let's try a new spot, or like maybe a standby spot where I'm just like feeling that kind of cuisine. Yeah. You know, I don't know.
Because your passion is your work, and so when you're working and you want to come home, you want to relax. You're not gonna keep working, right? And then make a mess for yourself. Like you may do it once in a while, but
gosh, that's the worst part. I was like,
clean up.
My wife's like, she's like, look what you did to my kitchen. You know? I'm like, it was so clean earlier.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like every time you cook, you use 5 dishes.
Yeah. Like all the oil splatters and stuff. Like you don't realize how greasy cooking is until you're at home, right? And it's like in the kitchen at the restaurant, it's like all that gets cleaned up every night, you know. But it's like at home, it's like, oh my gosh, I just made a big mess. You know?
I have to be the one to clean this up.
There's grease everywhere, like the splatters. You can just see it, you know.
Promo wise, or anything?
Plugs, promo,
any plugs or anything you want to add?
How can people find you? Or
you can find me on Instagram. That's pretty much my main platform. It's just Chef Nick Zocco. Yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook, but that's kind of it. You know, don't really deal with a lot of other social media stuff.
Any other big projects coming up or anything you're working on? Or
so we're doing, you know, I've been doing some chef collaboration dinners over the past year. Okay. So I've been trying to pick, you know, chefs from different restaurants around the city.
Cool.
Which has been a very big success for us. You know, I think when I came to Utah, and especially when I, you know, started working in Salt Lake, I didn't see a lot of collaboration, you know, from local chefs. Like I know like the community is pretty tight knit and a lot of people know each other, but I never saw like this one-on-one, you know, type dinners or anything like that where, you know, so my idea was, you know, when I got not awarded, but hopefully awarded.
Yeah.
When I got nominated for James Beard, you know, a big part of that is like bringing community together, you know, and trying to, you know, how do we bring the community tighter? And I just think, you know, with the growing restaurant industry in Salt Lake, I was like, well, I want to kind of be the forefront of like bringing chefs together and like creating those relationships. And you know, I had kind of started to meet a lot of chefs in town and get to know them. And so I've started to, you know, sort of pick out ones that I respect and some that have been in the industry in Salt Lake for a while and do these collaboration dinners where it's like, hey, you know, let's get together. We'll do a dinner at Urban Hill. and I would like to, talk menu and just highlight both of our restaurants and both of our careers, and just meet people and work with chefs, and like kind of gets you out of your regular day-to-day routine, and you can, create cool menus and, have sort of a demand for a customer base. Like, hey, I got Chef Nick and Chef whoever to do this collaboration dinner, and, tickets are pretty exclusive, if you will. And it's a good way to kind of see us merge together as chefs. And even though maybe you've never worked together, it's a beautiful thing to where as chefs, I think naturally you just figure out how to work in unison. And the dinners have been super successful. They've been very, very successful.
How often do you plan on doing those? Like monthly or every
So we've done
quarter?
them. So this will be, this will be number 4, I think.
Oh, okay. So it's still pretty new.
So so we've done, this will be 4, I believe. We kind of started them kind of later in the year, but we've done one like almost every other month or every couple months.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and they've been very successful. So I want to continue doing that. Because it's like, I just want to start building that community, and recognizing each other. I think we need to continue recognizing what's happening in the Salt Lake area, and especially downtown, where like all these cool restaurants are popping up. And I think it's an opportunity for people it's an opportunity for us, obviously, to host those events, but also to highlight the other restaurants, and the other chefs that are doing great work. Cause that's what makes great cities, man.
It really does.
Is
Great
good
food.
restaurants.
Try to raise the tide
Instead of just a bunch of McDonald's.
Yeah, I mean, it's facts, man.
No,
Oh,
and it's interesting too, because like even though you are competition to a degree, right? Like you're also a community, right? Because like everyone has to eat.
Yep.
And they're eating every day, so just because they go to your restaurant doesn't mean they can't go to someone else's.
Right.
Absolutely, and I want to support their restaurants. I want to go eat their restaurants.
Yeah, you got to eat too. Everyone's got to eat.
Exactly.
There's enough different styles that there's not necessarily just like trade secrets of no, this is mine. Keep it all to yourself. But I love that. That's great.
I get inspired by it, because like
that's true.
I want to. If I've never cooked with this guy, or I respect what they're cooking, I want to work with them. Hey, let's have a night where we can just get down and cook some dope food. And
how they blend flavors and whatever else.
Yeah, I want to know just how I can just like show up and just eat the leftovers.
There is no leftovers.
Don't mind me. I'll just take this extra
stand
plate
out
over
the back
here.
door.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody
just here for the leftovers.
Somebody just slides up
like a raccoon.
For me. That's right. A little rat. Have you been to Urban Hill?
No, I want to.
We should go.
It's funny. It's funny because last night, so I always get like Google reviews to my phone.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's like just updated. My boss has it linked into my email, so it's like anytime a review comes through, it's like, boom, right there, and I'm like, all right, do I read it?
Oh, yeah.
But there was a 5-star from Colton Henderson.
Oh.
And I was like, I don't know your last name.
Crump.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if they ate there last night.
I had every intention, because I talked to my wife and I was like, we should go to Urban Hill before Chef Nick is here. And she's like, that's a good idea. Then life happened, and then
it always does.
Of course.
Yeah, my wife Bailey was like, just call Tyler and you guys can go as brothers. And I was like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And then life happened, and I was like, let's just have him on, and then we can figure out something after.
Well, let me know. All right, you guys let me know.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
It is actually on my list. I have a Google map. My Google Maps. Whenever I like hear of restaurants, I'll like put a little flag on them, just like want to go flag. I label them all that way.
That's a good
and
idea.
that way, whenever my wife's like, we're like in an area, we're out doing something, she's like, oh, we should grab dinner. Then I just pull up my maps, and I just look for the green flags, and then I go here.
Yeah.
And then
I gotta start doing that.
Yeah. So then I just go to the place, and then if I like it, then I save it onto my like list, and if I don't like it,
Perfect.
then I have this little emoji that's like this little shrug icon that's like,
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So people can find you on Instagram. You're at Urban Hill.
Yep.
In Salt Lake.
Yeah. Urban Hill is the fine dining aspect of Hilltop hospitality. So urban-hill.com is the website. There's Urban Hill on Instagram. Yeah, and then just Chef Nick Zocco on Instagram is where you can find me. So
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Chef Nick, thanks. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate being here.
It's been
Thank
wonderful.
you very much for reaching out.
Yeah.
So cool.
Appreciate that.